a week before I went back to where he lived because my midwife was there. And that's where I planned on having my second son's birth. A week before, I just prayed really hard, and I was like, God, just show me what's going on. I just want to know what's going on. And the day I arrived at his place that night, he accidentally, like, he called me and he's like, what do you want to eat? I'll bring some food home. I'm leaving work. And I told him. And then he hung up. And then 5 minutes later, he butt dialed me. And I found out then that he had this woman that he basically had been living a double life with.
Welcome to the Heavy Pages podcast, a guiding light for women facing the paralyzing challenges of an unwanted separation. If you're feeling frozen by the weight of heartbreak or the uncertainty of a crumbling relationship, you're not alone. I'm Josie, your host, and a separation survival specialist, because I've been where you are, overwhelmed, emotionally stuck, and unsure of what lies ahead. But here's the truth: healing and empowerment are within your reach. Together, we'll shatter the chains of paralysis, embrace this journey, and pave the way to your new future. So it's time to step forward, find your strength, and rewrite your story. Because the pages of life can be heavy, but you don't have to turn them alone. Now, before we start today's episode, please consider taking a moment to click that subscribe button. And with that, here we go. Hello, and a warm welcome to today's chapter checkup session, where we will be hearing from another courageous woman as she shares her transformative journey from devastated to divorce. And we'll be using the 5 chapters of my program as the guide. If you're curious about these chapters and how they align with your personal journey, don't forget to visit heavypagespodcast.com for your free chapter checklist. And with that, here's today's interview. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another chapter checkup session. Today, I'm excited to share with you our guest, Shannon, who I have known for quite a few years, and I'm excited that she's willing to come on here and share her story with all of us. How are you today, Shannon?
Hello, how are you, Josie? Thanks for having me. I'm excited. A little nervous too, but I'm excited to be here.
We all get nervous. I still get nervous, as you can tell. I thank God for editing, man, because God knows what these things would sound like if I couldn't edit.
I agree.
And anyway, we'll get to that later, but I see you always going live on Instagram and stuff, and you seem like a pro, so it's just like that. So don't worry about it at all.
Yes, I found don't listen back to my stuff, and then that's how I gain confidence.
Oh, really? That's funny. Okay, so we are talking today. We're here today because you're going to share even though, if I'm correct, you weren't officially married, but you do have a separation and end of relationship story.
Yes, very much so.
Okay, so we're going to start with, just tell me a little bit about yourself and then how you met your now ex.
Man, so that was a while ago. So I now am, I run a holistic business. I am a single mother of 2 young children, 9 and 6 years old. And how I met my ex, I was actually, man, so this is wild. I actually met him. I had a dream about him holding my 2 boys. And a month later, I met him. And I was like, oh my God, this is my person. This is the man I'm supposed to be with. We actually met online before online dating became like super saturated like it is now. And yeah, that was like how long ago? That was like in 2010. So it was like 13 years ago now.
And you guys didn't marry, but dated for about how long?
We were together for 7 years. It felt like we were married.
Yeah, no, of course. Trust me. I mean, and it basically is married, honestly. It's just besides the paper because you live together, you have children. So, I mean, the only thing that was missing is the paper.
Yeah, I'm not one to get legally married. Like I'm not I've never believed in it. I think it's like a business contract, and I just wasn't ever really fond of making that commitment with somebody. Um, so to me, it felt like we were married for sure.
I feel the same. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about um, the separation. But first, we'll talk about before the separation, which is where chapter one of our From Devastated to Divorced checklist comes in. And chapter one is blissfully unaware or subconsciously aware. Do you feel like you were blissfully unaware of issues in your relationship or subconsciously aware and trying to avoid them away?
I feel like you're calling me out. I definitely was aware and I was trying to avoid them. I was looking for love outside myself and I was trying to make puzzle pieces fit when it was like so blatantly obvious that I shouldn't. Um, yeah. So I hit like 30 years old when I met him, and all of a sudden I never wanted children or anything, but having that dream and then meeting him, I was like, oh my God, like I have to like this has to be my person. So I was trying to make it fit so much. And I even had a psychic and I even had a conversation with him. I think it was like 6 months in where I was like, I see another woman in your life. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy, you know? And just little subtle things like that, like little things like where we would make plans and then like he would say he's sick all of a sudden and then I just knew and I would like go find him and he'd be out with people, you know? So just like trying to find my worth in him, trying to make him see my worth.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So let's talk about chapter two, blindsided and devastated. Did who initiated the breakup? Was there a situation that caused the breakup? Even if maybe you initiated the breakup, was it because of something that? How do you fall in that in chapter two?
So the last few years of our relationship, I got pregnant with our first son in 2013. I gave birth to him. And a month later, like I just couldn't find work where I was at. The person I was working with didn't hire me back. So I was struggling to find work. And so I went and visited my mom, who lived 2.5 hours away. And while I was there, I got 3 job offers. And I was like, oh my God, I have to move. I feel like I'm supposed to be here. Like I just have to. I had a conversation with my ex and I told him about the situation. He's like, yeah, maybe I'll move and stuff like that. And, what would I do? And I was like, we can build there and start. And there was like no movement forward. And I was like, you know what? I'm taking this opportunity. I'm not going to pass it up. And I said, I'm moving in 2 weeks. And it was horrible timing. Like his father got sick and was passing away at that time. So it was like a double whammy. He felt abandoned by me. But I knew I had to do what I had to do for my family. And so I moved. And then the remainder of that relationship was on and off. Like he would come visit, he would spend time with his son, he would spend time with me and lead me to believe that, he was coming eventually. And so then I got pregnant again with our second son. And that whole pregnancy, I just knew something was going on. Like the communication dwindled between us. He wasn't coming around that much. And a week before I went back to where he lived because my midwife was there, and that's where I planned on having my second son's birth. A week before, I just prayed really hard, and I was like, God, just show me what's going on. I just want to know what's going on. And the day I arrived at his place that night, he accidentally, like, he called me and he's like, what do you want to eat? I'll bring some food home. I'm leaving work. And I told him. And then he hung up. And then 5 minutes later, he butt dialed me. And I found out then that he had this woman that he basically had been living a double life with.
Wow.
For like the past 2 years. And so that's when it was just like, oh, this is really like, that's when I was blindsided. I was like, oh my God. you know?
Okay, so you find this out and you are about to give birth,
Yeah. So I was a,
had just had the baby?
no, I was a week away. I had just got up there and I was giving myself a week to kind of like get settled. I was a week from the due date. But that night, after that call, like I went up to his job and I went to go confront them. The girl had just left, but like literally she just left. I went back to his place and I packed all the baby stuff up back in the car. I called my mom. I was having like contractions and stuff like that. So my mom's like, I need you to go to the hospital. The hospital then convinced me that I was having preeclampsia. So they admitted me. My midwife was out of town. And so she's like, well, if you have preeclampsia, there's nothing like, they're not going to let me take you. You can't do anything. So immediately they're like, oh, we're going to have to do a C-section. I was like, oh, no, we're not doing that. So I spent 4 days in the hospital fighting them about having a C-section. And I was like, the baby's not ready to be born yet. Like, it's just not going to happen. And it was horrible because like my ex was there in the room, wouldn't leave as much as I wanted him to leave. He would not leave. Um, but then finally, like the last night,
It's like the most vulnerable.
yeah, yeah, there was just so much going on. Like I don't like hospitals. I didn't want to have birth in a hospital. I definitely did not want a C-section. I knew the baby wasn't ready, and now I'm looking at this man in the
Right.
corner that I just want to punch in the face, you know.
Right, right.
And I'm like, it was crazy. It absolutely was crazy.
Wow. I mean, that's, finding out about cheating and all these things are so traumatic, but then to have that, right? I mean, for that to be the birth story of your son, for that to be the feeling, especially for you who have a lot of this, the way the feelings of the earth and stuff like that. And then for this to be the thing that's, I mean, it had to be so stressful because you're like, this is not the vibe I want to have my child. And you have the home birth and the nice Zen stuff, and this is what's happening.
Yeah,
Ugh, it couldn't have been more of the opposite than what you wanted to happen.
it definitely was. The ending of his birth, like when it actually happened, was like a total shift because I changed my viewpoint and I said, I'm going to take the view off of him and I'm going to focus on the baby. And again, I just sat and I prayed. And my son's middle name is Kai, which means ocean. And this was already planned out. And so there's like a TV in the room. And obviously I'm praying. And as I'm praying, an ocean scene comes on like the TV. And like there's all this serene and peace. And I was like, okay, cool. Like this is good. And then the next day it was like a new
Right.
staff came on and she's like, you know what? I'm going to let you go walk outside for a little bit. I'm going to let you eat because I hadn't eaten for like 4 days. I'm going to let you take a shower and then we're going to have the baby. And I was like, okay. And I got up and I showered. I had something to eat. The minute I walked outside, the baby dropped. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, so, and then I went back up and the room was clean, everything. It was like a total different vibe. And then I had the baby within 30 minutes. It's crazy.
Wow. Naturally.
Yeah, naturally. Thank God. Naturally.
Wow. And then after that, I mean, I know because I know you and because I was kind of there for this pastor part, you had to go back to his
Yeah.
place
Yeah. I had to go back to his place.
to, like you had to go back there. And
Yeah. Be in the energy. And
how was that?
it was, I don't even really remember that part. I feel like I blocked so much of it out. And I was just like, I think I was only there a week. And I was like, I'm good. I got to go. Like I just mustered up all the strength that I could. And I was like, I got to get out of here.
Okay, so your children are my nephews by marriage, even though I'm not married either. But well, I was there because I wanted to see the baby right after you came back from the hospital. And I never shared this with you, but when I walked in there, there was this vibe. And maybe it's because I think everything is all about me. But I kept feeling like, what is going on here? What did I do? Obviously, I had no idea there was this whole other thing that they knew was going on that I had no idea about. And so but the vibe was there. And I was like, well, it can't be, Shannon. It can't be this beautiful baby. It's got to be me. I'm the one who walked in. So obviously later I found out, holy crap, all that stuff was going on behind the scenes and everybody's trying to act so natural. And I don't know how you did it because it was amazing. It was a true testament to your strength, honestly.
Yeah. I even looking back though, I know I probably could have handled it a lot better, but like, and I'm sorry you took that internally. That sucks. Yeah, because the thing is like there was so much, even like 2 years after that I was uncovering like the way that he talked about me or portrayed me to people, and it was just like, what the
Right.
what, like, and I continued to find out more and more things that were false throughout the relationship. And I was like, it just throws you, like, I had children with this person. I was planning like living the rest of my life with this person, and like, who is this? Like, what's going on? Like, that's where the blindsided came from. So it made me question, like, who am I? Like, what am I crazy? Like, am I
Right.
really crazy? Do I really? And because especially being like a psychic and like having not like having all these things happen, people would say to me, "Well, if you're so psychic, then why didn't you?" But being so blindsided of like wanting something in your life and not seeing all the signs that are just naturally there, it'll elude anybody.
Absolutely. And I think that part of it is that you are, it might be there, but you're working so hard to preserve this thing that you value, even if they don't value it. It's not that it is that you're blind to it. So, you know how they say an outside observer obviously can see it way better than you can, but it's because that's why you're in it. That's why you are helpful to other people, because they're so in it that they're not going to see what you are going to see. But also, they're good at lying. Sometimes they're just really that good at it. And with you wanting it to work and them being such good liars, it's the perfect combination to fall in that sort of situation.
it's,
Right.
it's so true. That's so true.
So then we're going to go to chapter 3, which is Better, Stronger, Loved You. How did you feel after finding out about this? And I'm guessing basically you tried to what did you decide at this point? Did you decide, well, we have 2 kids together, it's got to be over? Or did you say, I'm willing to give you a break? How did that next part work out? What did he say? Did he want to try and fix things?
There was so much emotional manipulation for like the next 6 to 8 months, almost a year. That it, like, going through postpartum depression, which then triggered a deeper spiritual awakening for me. It was crazy because he would come and he would visit the kids, and because the kids were so young, I'm like, you can't take them. Like, it just, like, you can, like, and so he would be here and he'd be like, I love you. I love the kids. I want to be here. And then he'd leave and then he'd go tell her, I love her. I love you. I don't want to be there. And then it was like, it was just that back and forth. And then he would be like, I don't love you. And he's like, she's everything that I ever wanted. Can't you see that? You don't take care of yourself. You never dress up. And I'm like, I'm working 15 hours a day, taking care of 2 kids, and you come and visit for a weekend. And then when you're here, it's like I have a third child.
Right.
Like, I got to clean up. I work 14 hours a day. I got to come home, cook, and then clean my house, which would have been clean if I would have taken my kids to my mother's. Like, yeah, I don't want to dress up and get makeup on, and I don't want to be cuddly. I'm exhausted.
Right. Right.
So, but I did go through a moment where I was like, why not me? What's wrong with me? I started hating myself, not looking at myself in the mirror, judging myself very intently. I ended up reaching out to the girl, and I was like, I just want to know what's going on because he's still being intimate with me.
Right.
He's still telling me he loves me. He's still telling me that he's going to be here, and I want to know what's going on. Like I'm done. Like,
Right.
and she let out and just told me like everything. Like he was lying to her too. You know, she didn't know about me until like a week before I was to come to Orlando, and they had been seeing each other for 2 years.
And was she shocked that she like, girl power, forget about him. I'm done with him. He's is that what she said?
Yeah, so it was interesting because she's like, you know what? Because we stayed on the phone for like almost all night, and she's like, you know what? She's like, I feel like if we would have met on different terms, we'd be like best friends. And I was like, she's like, because we have a lot in common and stuff. And I was like, yeah, probably, you know. But then it turned, you know, when I ended up like going 30 days no contact because I told him and I said, if you want to talk to the kids or whatever, you got to go through my mother.
Okay.
I needed 30 days no contact so I could disconnect my emotions and I could really find clarity because it was such like a whirlwind of depression and everything that was going on. Like I just had so much confusion.
Right.
And so in that time frame, I became the bad person. I became like this woman who was holding my children from him and I wasn't letting them talk and stuff like that. So he used that to allow her to change her viewpoint on me. And I didn't care after the 30 days. I found my strength.
Excellent. Excellent. And uh, you know, just saying that if a little bit of that after knowing that you've been together for 2 years, which means that if 2 years means that he not just was pregnant, but got his partner pregnant while dating her, and she didn't know all this, and then, oh, she's not letting the kids, me talk to the kids, was enough for her to be like, oh, yeah, well, we're fine because she's bad. That was her own blindness and
Yeah.
her own, the excuse that she needed to not let go of him, in my opinion.
Yeah. True. And I have compassion. We were all there.
Right,
We
of
were all there.
course.
We've all been through it.
I mean, I would say definitely that this person would benefit from some therapy and some work to recognize why she would be okay with somebody that cheated on his partner for 2 years, had two children that she didn't even know about. Which, how do you not even acknowledge at least the one child and the other one on the way for 2 years? What? And I'm digressing, but what does that make? How does that make you think of this man that you would, I guess, want to spend the rest of your life with if he could not even mention his two kids for 2 years to you? I mean,
Yeah.
yikes,
Yeah.
right? Yikes. So, okay, but I think the 30 days of no contact is a great start. I think that's very important. I think that that's something that people miss and don't realize, and it's hard for them to do. And because they don't do it, they don't get what you got, was the time by yourself to actually analyze without all that, the BS, the gaslighting of, oh, I love you today, I don't tomorrow, maybe we can work this out, all that kind of stuff, all that out of your mind to be able to help you work on yourself. So that was a very necessary and, good for you. So, okay, so then let's talk about it being over, right? It's over. Now what? After those 30 days of, getting some clarity, you realized you need to build yourself up. You need to put yourself first, love yourself, love your kids, right? And then you come to terms with it's over. How does that work out?
Yeah. So in that 30 days, I really, it allowed me to really dive deeper into like the emotions that were going on and gain clarity about how I felt. And I was, I really began like meditating more and researching more and connecting to God more. And then I realized like, I don't love myself. And that sparked the where I'm at now. It sparked me like realizing I every time I looked in the mirror, I would say something shitty about myself. I would just
Mm.
say something negative that somebody else said. And I was like, who am I? Like, what do I like? What am I doing this for? And who am I holding on to this relationship for? And I remember at one time, my I was at my mother's house with my siblings, and they all have kids and they're all married. And they looked at me and they said, "What's wrong with you, Shannon? How come you can't keep a relationship?" I was like, I was like, oh, okay. And I know, like, I know where it stems in my childhood and what I saw, but that triggered me to realize, like, why am I holding on to this relationship just because these other people think I should, just because I had children with this person? Like,
Right.
I'm not happy with this person. This person does not fulfill me. This person is not healthy for me. I love my children, but I don't want my children to grow up and see the things that I saw, which is not
Right.
love, which is abuse, which is, feeling like you have to just do things to fit in because that's what society wants you to do. So I really took that time and I just really dove in and started connecting with God and connecting with myself and finding that strength within. And now, like, I love myself. I look in the mirror and I remind myself how much of a bad bitch I am. you know,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love it.
I mean, really, that is the right. I think you would agree that that is the position that you would be in. That now, like if someone like that were to come into my life now, I'd see him a mile away. They wouldn't, they wouldn't get past, the front gate to get into the front door
Right.
because I recognize myself. I recognize what I'm worth, and I can see through them.
Right. And, I feel like we're always, sorry, I feel like we're always going to be tested and in the beginning, we're going to still attract those people. But then I do feel like, once you really know, like, nah, like I'm not settling, I'm not doing that. You don't attract those people anymore, you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah, because I think that they look for also a specific type of person, If they feel your strength and your vibe, they're going to be like, "Well, shit, I know I'm not going to be able to pull one over on this one." And then they're going to move on,
Yep.
right? So, well, because you weren't married, you didn't have to do the well, you still had to do the "it's over now" what part, which came to dealing with child custody, child support, things like that. And how did that aspect go of your journey?
That the court system is shit. Let's say that. I have no financial. I had no attorney. He had an attorney. Um, Fighting me for everything. This man was making money and quit his job, demoted himself so that he wouldn't have to pay. Whereas before, when we were not going through the court system, he was giving me some money. It wasn't consistent, but he was giving me some money. And then all of a sudden, he had no money. He couldn't help me and he couldn't give anything. And like now it's like, what I get couldn't even pay for groceries for the month, it's nothing. Um,
Right.
so it's like, I didn't fight too much, I knew like I didn't want to keep my kids away from their father. I know the kids need both parents.
Right.
I just didn't want him to have them when they were so young. Like I needed to be there. I'm the person who's there taking care of them. It's the mother. When they're ripped away from the main parent at a young age, before the age of 4, it causes emotional trauma within the child. And so I didn't win that battle, but like, um, I did, I feel like the time sharing is as fair as it can be, given the distance that we're at.
Right.
And it's funny because he fought me so hard, tooth and nail, to have all this extra time. And then you, after his, once he realized, like, oh, okay, now I have to really take on this responsibility, and he realized his girlfriend didn't want the responsibility, he didn't want to put the time in that he requested for. So it was just a battle
Right.
of egos.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I do find it interesting that she knew he had two kids and continued to date him, and then the kids turned out to be an issue. but you knew he had two kids and you took him away, didn't take him away, but didn't make it easier for him to, she didn't bow out of the relationship to see if him and the mother of his children could fix things. And then it turns out that, hey, having kids is not my vibe. I don't like it. And they're baggage and they're your baggage. And I'm not enjoying that.
Yeah, so it did end up putting a strain on their relationship, but I mean, that's his own karma for the way he started things, you know.
Right.
He hooked her in, and she fell in love, and just trying to battle that and accept it and stuff like that. But then she lost all the trust from the stuff that he was doing with me, and I think I would say to him at certain times, like, I have no issue with her. She seems fine. She doesn't have any drug issues, alcohol issues, like she seems like she has level headed and stuff like that. But I'm their mother. And like what I say goes and what I do goes. And so if I'm saying, they're too young to go over to her house or this or that, or I think you guys need to wait until you introduce her, like, respect that.
Right.
And, it is what it is, but he kept it the way he wanted to. I think that's all, that's all their issue and their karma and stuff like that, and what they dealt with. I think it's important when you have kids to understand, like, the children. Like, I don't give a I don't care about your emotions and your feelings. What impact are you doing to the children? And that's where
Right.
I was making those decisions for my children. I wasn't making them because of me.
Right. I gotcha. And
But
that makes sense.
I'm just thankful, like, I'm over that part and they're not like super young anymore. That was stressful when they're super young and you're going through that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine. So exactly, and now they're older and they're more vocal, and they can, and that's one of the things, they can speak up for themselves more, and and even share with you if something sounds weird, and even not that they're telling on anybody, but that they can communicate with you, and then you can be like, oh, okay, they don't feel comfortable in this situation, that situation. I know I can put in my 2 cents, but if they can't speak or share or tell you, how do you know? And that makes it very difficult. So I get you on that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on to the beyond, because now you're the beyond. You didn't have to deal with the actual official divorce paperwork thing, but you moved beyond that relationship. And how has your beyond been?
My beyond has been pretty amazing. I would say, though, the beginning, like maybe the first year or two after I split with him, was still me loving myself, learning to love myself, learning my worth, and not accepting. Like, I attracted a really horrible person that was in my life, but it was a very short time. It was like 6 months, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing this again. I was like, no, no,
Right.
no. And but after that, once I really learned to love myself and I really stepped into my power, like I stepped into like being authentically me. Like, I've had my holistic business for 15 years. But the last, how long has it been now? Like almost 6 years. It's really like been authentic, where it's like, hey, I don't just do massage. I'm a psychic, and I help guide people, and I help people heal. Because I teach them the things that I went through, learning to love yourself, learning to raise your worth, your value, recognize your value. I attracted a relationship into my life, which unfortunately just recently ended, but it ended on good terms. And I healed so much in that relationship. Like, that person showed me like what a real man is supposed to treat you like.
Okay,
And
good.
where, like, before it was like I thought that I was supposed to, like, I thought all men were abusive, either emotionally, physically. But this person, like, I attracted a healthy man that showed me like not men are abusive, like, like, and they are supportive, and they're okay if you don't wear makeup, and so,
Right.
and this person was amazing for my children as well, like, just love my kids just like they were their own. So yeah, it's
Well, that's
it's
good. Yes.
it's been amazing. It's been empowering. And the father has definitely still come back and been like, what would it be like if we got together? And I'm like, that's a fantasy I'm not into.
Right. Yikes.
No, thank you.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah.
No, not at all.
um, okay, so tell me what you would tell other women that are now where you were in in any part of what you lived through in your relationship. Maybe where you saw things but you didn't want to recognize them, or when you got to the end and you were devastated in the middle of about to have a child or something like that. And what kind of advice would you be able to give somebody in that position?
The biggest thing is just knowing you're worthy of having all that you desire in a relationship from a partner. Like just knowing that the love you feel that you can achieve or that you think is out there, but you have to
I
find
love
it
it.
within
I
first.
love it. And tell us, Shannon. I don't know why I keep wanting to call you Sharon. That's so weird. I don't even know a Sharon, so it's super weird. But okay, Shannon, share with us where people can find you. People that really want to get into that, get in tune with themselves. Seek out more about what you do in your services.
So my business is called Anchored Soul Therapy. I'm on all the social medias as that. My website's anchoredsoultherapy.com. And yeah, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all the socials, TikTok even. And I love to just connect with people and empower them to know their worth and find that strength within so that they can align to their highest path.
Beautiful. And I'm going to make sure to share all the links in the show notes so anybody who wants to find you on any of your socials can find you there.
Thanks for having me on.
And I just want to say thank you so much for sharing. I know it was, you're on the other side of it now, and it is a learning experience, but it's sometimes not fun to relive some of those unfortunate chapters in our lives. But I thank you for doing that and for sharing. And I'm sure that there's somebody out there that's going to hear this and it's going to relate to them, and they're going to be able to make positive steps forwards because of you sharing your story. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode. A special thanks to Shannon for sharing with us. And if you'd like to share your own chapter checkup, please reach out to me on Instagram at heavy_pages_podcast. And don't forget to download your free copy of the chapter checklist. As always, thanks for listening.